Welcome to Socials with the Saints. This is a special time for us to take a break and meet a saint and role model, a man or woman whose life on earth lived in faith in God can inspire us as we make our pilgrimage through life. The communion of saints have much they can teach us and how to live in this world as friend and disciple of Jesus Christ so we can dwell with Him forever in eternity. At Socials with the Saints, we visit with a saint and let her or him guide us through their story of God's work in them, to encourage us to also aspire to one day be a saint. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have your favorite beverage ready. If not, feel free to pause and come back with a hot cup of tea or coffee. Get comfortable and allow me to introduce you to a wonderful saint I so want you to meet. At this Social with the Saint, I have the blessing of introducing you to Saint Angela Merici, a woman who lived in Italy at the end of the 15th and beginning of the 16th centuries. For every Social with the Saint, we create a pamphlet for you to download as part of your saint collection, and we invite you to share this pamphlet with your family and friends. The pamphlet, along with a saint card with quotes by Saint Angela Merici, can all be found on our website at Pilgrim Center of Hope.org. Let's meet Saint Angela Marici. In 1474, in the town called Desenzano at Lake Garda in the Brescia province of Italy, a baby girl was born who would grow up to be a Catholic leader and innovator. Her name is Angela Morichi, the first foundress of a non-cloistered religious order of women that came to be known as the Ursulines. Saint Angela, as is her contemporary, Saint Ignatius of Loyola, are credited as being innovators by helping to reform and renew the Catholic Church from within and help repair damage perpetrated against the Church by wars, plagues, and the rise of Protestantism. Angela was raised in a pious Catholic family of who her biographer, Philip Karaman, writes, belonged to the lesser gentry, which under the new Tudor monarch was seeking wealth, position, and nobility in a fluid society. She was at ease with people of upbringing, and by the standard of her day was highly educated in behavior and manners, though not perhaps in letters. There is ample evidence that she was appreciative of art, valued education, and even as a child, had a knowledge of the world beyond her township and country. Her father possessed books, which was a rarity at the time, and would read to his family. A book of note he owned is the collection of stories on saints called Legenda Sanctorum. This is the same book that Saint Ignatius of Loyola, as a young knight, would read during convalescence of his shattered leg, and was the catalyst that ignited his desire to become a great saint. For Angela, this book introduced her to Saint Ursula, the 4th century British princess and martyr. The courage of the martyr made such an impression on Angela that she would one day give the name, the Company of Saint Ursula, to her religious order. Both Saint Angela Morici and Saint Ignatius of Loyola were inspired by saints to become saints. At the age of 10, Angela became orphaned. She and her older sister went to live with her uncle, and during this time her sister died. Concerned her sister did not have an opportunity to receive her last sacrament, she feared for her eternal salvation. Angela prayed to God to reveal the state of her sister's soul. In a vision, she learned her sister was in the communion of saints in heaven. Grateful for His mercy, Angela vowed to dedicate herself totally to God. She refused any attempts by her family towards marriage. She joined the Third Order of St. Francis and became known as Sister Angela. When Angela was 20 years old, her uncle died. She returned to her childhood home in Desenzano and took over management of her parents' property. Whether at home or when traveling, she wore the rough wool garment of the Franciscans and a white veil on her head. Living both in the world as a consecrated woman, Angela traveled through Brescia, selling her farm produce and doing the work of Christian instruction, helping with the sick and harboring peace among the many feuding families of the time. She became well known, and several women of some leisure, it is said, influenced by her spiritual example, joined her in an informal association to assist her. At a time between her 20s and 40s, Angela experienced a vision that would set the course for the mission and purpose of her life. She saw a ladder stretching from the sky to the earth. Down it came angels and maidens in pairs. The maidens sang and the angels accompanied their song with instruments. A voice spoke, giving her to understand she was destined to found a new order of women that would be as numerous as her heavenly visitors, stretching into the future as far as she could see in the clear midday sky. At 42, Angela was sent to Brescia by order of St. Francis to accompany and console a recent widow. Angela would not return to her former country life. With continued warring factions among families and also periods of plague, many women were widowed. Several joined Angela's unofficial association and worked with her, tending to their fellow citizens as needed. These years would prove to be learning ground for Angela's later structured formation of a religious order. At this time, Angela said to desire a core group of women who shared her ideals and persistence in pleasing the Lord, but she did not insist on it. Any woman that wanted to come help was invited and could assist as she could and leave as she chose. It was a common practice at the time for European Christians to go on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, to offer penance and seek God's will. Angela did just that, hoping to receive clarity from God regarding her mission. Strangely, on voyage to the Holy Land, Angela was literally struck blind. Her blindness would prove temporary, with her sight returning once back in Venice several weeks later. Angela did not despair. Instead, she sensed God was teaching her, saying that when she was led to places that stirred her greatest devotion, she saw these places with the eyes of her soul, as if she had seen them with her bodily eyes. On the return voyage from the Holy Land to Venice, Angela and her companions experienced both pirates and storms. During what became a 9-day storm, those on ship reported that as they huddled in fear below, Angela bravely stood on deck in her Franciscan habit, praying into the wind and rain for God's help. The escape from pirates and tales of Angela's personal holiness were passed around Venice upon their safe and what many say miraculous return. Officials, both religious and political, were anxious to meet her in person. Angela was asked by the Council of Venice to manage the Hospital of Incurables. Confident her vision directed her to form her company of women in Brescia, she refused their request. She feared her refusal would lead the council to enlist the help of Venice's patriarch. And knowing as a Franciscan tertiary, bound by obedience to the church, she would not be able to refuse, Angela quickly left Venice. Thanks to her recent fame, Angela was granted an audience with the Pope. She eagerly went, hoping to receive approval of her company. In the Jubilee year of 1525, she spoke to Clement VII of her plans of founding a company of women for the work of Christian instruction of the young and for the charitable assistance of the sick. Angela impressed the Pope with her combination of worldly wisdom and remarkable saintliness. He is said to have praised her as a person of the most rare gifts and revealed he tried to convince her to take charge of charitable works in Rome. But Angela pleaded with him that her mission lay in Brescia. The Pope approved her plan in principle, but stated a formal approval awaited her rule. Learning from experience, Angela spent much of the next decade working on the rule for her company of women. So a rule of a religious order is basically a code of behavior that each member vows to obey. The overriding rule that Angela formulated was that it is necessary to have a firm intention of serving God. So the applicant must enter gladly of her own free will and undergo a long period of testing before she's finally admitted. This was to counter the custom of the time of families sending their less marriageable daughters into convents in order to increase the dowries for their other daughters. Angela insisted that any woman entering her company did so of her own free will and because she wants to serve God. On November 25th, 1534, Angela's company was established. The rule would be the first drawn up for women by a woman in the Western Church. Angela was a Catholic innovator, forming the Company of St. Ursula as an order of religious sisters not enclosed behind cloistered convents, but sent out into the world, for the work of Christian instruction and charitable care for the sick. Angela chose as her patron saint, St. Ursula, of course, and also St. Paula, St. Elizabeth of Hungary, and two Brescian martyrs, Faustino and Giovita, because they were all saints who had experience of the world and whose apostolate lay among their fellow citizens. Angela was a firm believer in faith in Christ means obedience to his church. In chapter 8 of the Rule, she writes, "Each one of you should first obey the commandments of God. Secondly, obey him who governs Mother Church, because he who is truth has said, who hears you, hears me, and who despises you, despises me." And then, in descending order, obedience is to be given to priests, spiritual director, to mother and father, to the laws, statutes, and civil authorities. Angela considered it sufficient to lay down principles rather than regulations, and her rule contained no stipulations for a central government or for the continuity of her company after her death. That would come as the Ursuline order progressed through time and throughout the world. It's unlikely the first companions had any strict sense of being members of a religious order. They had joined together, united as a band of women so as to be more effective in serving God. The rule was formally approved by Cardinal Cornaro in 1536, 4 years before Angela's death. From vision to founding of the Ursulines took 4 decades of Angela's life. Following Angela's death, the company rapidly developed. It quickly moved beyond Brescia to Milan and other Italian cities, and eventually throughout the world. In the 1700s, before the French Revolution, there were around 400 Ursuline monasteries in France. In all, the Ursulines have established schools in over 36 countries. The Ursuline Sisters have made a great impact on the church and the world. One fine example is their work in New Orleans, Louisiana. In 1727, the Ursuline Sisters opened their first school, inviting all young girls, including French, Creole, Indian, and African, both free and enslaved. They increased the literacy rate for women in New Orleans to a high 71% for that time. In 1730, well before the Civil War, a group of women under the sponsorship of the Ursulines pledged to take special care to catechize their slaves. This group, known as the Children of Mary, grew into a diverse group of 85 women and children that reflected the universalism of the Ursuline mission and conformity to the Catholic Church. Among the members were wealthy plantation mistresses, wives of carpenters, and simple soldiers. It's noted that several women of color who may have been slaves were also members. Angela Morichi was canonized on May 2, 1807 by Pope Pius VII. She is the patron saint of the sick, disabled, and physically challenged people and those grieving the loss of parents. What a story. Amazing to see the reality of the impact of one woman can make on the world when, as St. Angela Merici said, has a firm intention to serve God. Isn't God so good to give us his friends to be our friends? This is the beauty and mystery of the communion of saints. Those who have gone before us can still help us. We can become friends with the saints in heaven by asking them for prayers and by knowing more about their witness of faith and journey to heaven. They desire to help us now. Now that you have met St. Angela Marici, what will you take into your daily life from getting to know her? I invite you to continue through the next part of Socials with the Saints, which is our discussion podcast. The podcast resembles the discussion those who attend our in-person Socials with the Saints enjoy after meeting a saint. I invite you to join Jason Nunez and me in our discussion on what we have learned through the life of St. Angela Marici. Remember to download the pamphlet and St. Angela Marici along with her saint card, and please print a few copies and share them with families and friends. All can be found on our website, pilgrimcenterofhope.org. Isn't it wonderful to pull away for a few minutes from our busy task and relax and socialize with a saint? Thank you for joining St. Angela Marici and me, and I hope you do join Jason and me as we further discuss this great saint. It is our hope this time together inspires and encourages you on your journey. And remember, You're never alone in the communion of saints. God bless you.